Obviously, there's going to be these situations where they can't hold on to the property anymore. And what are they going to start to do?
They're going to dip into the second mortgage. They're going to dip into the credit cards. They're going to borrow money from the families.
Yeah.
They're going to start pawning, selling jewelries, because you're going to affect your credit.
Yeah.
You're going to affect your health. And at the end of the day, you may lose your jewelry and you will lose a house, or you lose your savings.
Yeah.
How long you can run out of it?
Yeah.
One day your tank is going to get empty.
Yeah.
Live behind decisions I chose. Peaks feel good and the valleys get low. Chains for the tires in the rain, hail, snows. Like this everywhere that I go, everywhere that I go.
Hey everybody, it's Hussein Kabani, your favorite broker, and I have dragged Varan back into another video. He was kicking and screaming. He wanted to leave, but I just didn't let him.
It's okay. I'll stay with you.
Yeah, he has no choice, right? We give him too much business.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
So basically, guys, here we want to kind of cover off the good and the bad of what's kind of happening in the economy right now. The way that we look at it, there's going to be possibly really hard times for some people. And how do you kind of stop that? And for other people, if you're looking at things in a different way, there might be a lot of opportunities for you.
100%.
So let's start with the bad news. And when I say bad news, I mean like, I think over the last few years, I think our money has been very cheap next to free. And it's actually afforded people to buy a bigger property that they may not necessarily be able to hold on to anymore when the interest rates go up. Because I know some people that locked in at 1.2%, 2%, and they're going to have their rates come up. Even at that point, when they were buying for and getting rates of 1.2 or 2% or whatever else like that, they were really squeezing their qualification to actually get into that, right? Like the debt service ratio, everything
100%.
was like...
It was unaffordable at the time. Unaffordable at the time.
Exactly. They were still asking for exceptions to kind of get into this property. Yeah. But now when you think about having to go back and renew at 4.79 or something else like that, I don't think a lot of these guys are going to be able to hold on to these things.
I agree.
Right? So if you're pushing at that time when you had 1.2 or 2% interest rate, and now you're going to have to requalify at 4.79. The good news, actually, I should say by qualifying is basically I think the institution for the most part is not going to ask you to requalify for the product.
No, they will just ask you to sign a paper. So what I'm also seeing is the banks are holding the rates high for the renewal because they know that they're not going to go anywhere else.
True. That's actually a very good point, right? Because I don't know, how can you explain what happens? You have a product at TD, right? You have a TD mortgage. It's going to
Let's not say the bank's names. Let's say you have a mortgage with the bank A at
Vern doesn't want to be...
I work at TD, so okay. I can bring TD in.
Fair enough.
So let's say they have a mortgage with bank A. They took a 2.5% on a 5-year fix or 3-year fix is coming up for renewal.
Yeah.
Now they're going to renegotiate the rate. So you may not qualify with a bank B right now.
Right. So basically you have with bank A, you have a 2.5% mortgage. And now maybe bank B is saying, hey, we could do 4.25%.
Yeah.
But you don't qualify for 4.25%.
But what you're going to do, you're going to take whatever they give you.
Yeah.
So that's why the renewal rates are really high right now.
So bank A might just tell you, hey, it's 4.75, take it or leave it. And you can't leave it because you got to take it.
A lot of people are taking it.
So they're going to hold you there.
They're going to hold you there.
Wow.
Especially with the B lenders.
Wow. Because you won't qualify otherwise.
You won't qualify otherwise.
Oh my God. Hey, just because you mentioned B lenders, I know with B lenders, there could be additional fees for lending. When you go to renewed, is that fee still
there's
exist?
no fees to renew.
So it's only a one-time kind of thing
only
when
one-time
you start
fee,
with that.
but they're also holding the rates high, right?
Okay.
Are they being client-centric or they're being business-centric? They're being a business-centric.
Of course they are.
And also, if you look at it, the volumes has come down for the bank, right? So how are they going to keep up the margins? By keeping the spread side.
Yeah.
So that means they're not discounting it.
Yeah. So that's actually a very good point. So if you're with Bank A, they're going to renew you, but you get a better rate at Bank B, you may not even qualify for that same mortgage that you have right now.
Exactly.
That Bank A is willing to lend you at a higher rate.
You got
Okay, so that's a good point there. But what I'm looking at is that, I've seen some of these situations over the years, and I'm sure you have as well, is that I believe that North Americans generally have a high emotional level towards their home. Okay, I just think it just stems that way. It's like the North American dream to own your own home and stuff like that. And you finally bought this house or whatever else like that. And you're really going to do anything you possibly can to not lose that property. There's many reasons for it. You have a lot of pride. It's it's your
security,
your dream or whatever. You're going to look bad in front of your friends and family. Like all these other things. So you're going to basically do whatever you can to hold on to it.
I agree. I'm seeing a lot of clients who's doing that, and they're struggling to hold it.
So you're already starting to see some of these things materialize.
I saw it last year. Like I actually didn't finance a lot of people. They were looking for a second mortgage because I know they're on the verge of losing the house.
Wow.
And I don't want to put them in a more debts, and my lender who arranged the mortgage will be taking over the property. So for me, the reputation is more important.
Sure.
I didn't finance it. But I don't know what they're up to, but I'm sure they probably finance it somewhere else.
Yeah. There's always money available. Depends on how hard you look and what you're willing to do for it.
Exactly.
But this is what I'm thinking right now, okay? So people that have been locked into these lower rates, and now they're going to get a higher rate, obviously, and they're not going to be, there is a chance, and hopefully it doesn't really happen like this, right? But obviously there's going to be these situations where they can't hold on to the property anymore. And what are they going to start to do?
They're going to dip into the second mortgage. They're going to dip into the credit cards. They're going to borrow money from the families.
Yeah.
They're going to start pawning, selling jewelries.
Yeah.
You know what? In my opinion, talk to the professional and get out of the problem before you lose more.
Yeah.
Because you're going to affect your credit.
Yeah.
You're going to affect your health. And at the end of the day, you may lose a jewelry and you will lose a house, or you lose your savings.
Yeah.
How long you can run out of it?
Yeah.
One day your tank is going to get empty.
Yeah. And you know what? Like some people out there have holding power, right? Like say, for example, like I'm losing a bunch of money on some of my properties and whatever else like that. But I'm maybe in a little bit of a different situation where I can kind of afford that bleed because I have a long-term vision of this whole thing, right? My thing is that I think most people will tell you I'd rather sever an arm versus sell a property. I'm not selling, right? So the thing is I believe it in for the long run, for like 10, 15, 20 years. I find a lot of people have a short mindset about like real estate investing. It's 3 years, 5 years, they want to see a profit. For me, I don't care if I don't see a profit because at the end of the day or end of like a few decades, I'm going to get a massive profit out of this whole thing. And that's the way I look at it. And fortunately for me and for some other people, we're able to kind of fund this. Who knows how long, but we're able to fund this loss right now.
You can ride it out.
Sure. But you know, there is a time that comes for families that they just cannot do this. And I think these are the signs that I would like to talk to people about and say, hey, you got to recognize these signs. I would almost say like a smart way, in my opinion, would be is to kind of almost do a budget and say, hey, how are you going to get the money to backfill this hole? And how long do you think this is going to go on, right? So like how long do you think, if you're going to try to hold a property, right? If you're already at the end of it, how long do you think someone should try to project out?
Personally, everyone knows how much money they can bring it in to fill this holes, right? If you're to the point you are taking the credit card, line of credit, second mortgages on a high interest to fill these holes, you're never going to fill these holes. Hoping the market is going to go up by 20-30% next year to walk away from it. The biggest clientele we see in this kind of criteria is they want a second mortgage to keep up the first mortgage. That's already a problem.
It's dangerous already.
It's dangerous.
That's dangerous to start with.
It's dangerous. It's like a suicide, right? In my opinion, if you know that you cannot hold these properties, talk to the professional and walk away right now. At least you're walking away with a little money with less damage.
Yeah. And to your point too, like, and who knows how long this is going to stay? Like we're talking middle of February 2023. And right now I just got into like 2 bidding wars last night, one for a buyer of mine and one for a listing of mine. Okay. And these are a common thing that's happening. I'd say 50% or more of the listings right now are going into bidding. And so we've seen a bit of a bump, and I don't know how long this is going to last. Our inventory across Toronto Real Estate Board is just under 10,000 right now.
But it may come back again in the spring market, right?
And that's what I'm trying to say is that if our inventory starts to go a lot higher than where it is right now, you might not even be able to capitalize on what you could possibly get right now. So I think my advice to people right now would be is basically, if you look at it outwards, and I would say, like, I don't know, what do you think about this? Like, I would say if I'm trying to fill a hole, I'm trying to fill a hole for 18 months.
Can you? Like, it depends on the situation of each client, right?
Like, I would want to, like, if I'm really adamant about holding my house, I don't know, maybe I think in 18, and it's my thought only, I could be wrong, right? 18 months, maybe I think that maybe things might start to turn around a little bit. I might become in a better spot. But can I afford to float this thing for 18 months?
But it depends on how you're filling the hole, right?
Yeah.
If you have a savings, I understand.
Sure, yeah, exactly, from savings.
Yeah. So then you can actually
savings
take a
or
chance.
Possibly even investments. Like, what if you had a tax-free savings account or something else
any
like
kind
that?
of savings, like not borrowing
Sure.
to fill the hole. Like, that's what I mean.
Sure.
As long as you can ride this out without borrowing extra money and a high interest rate to fill these holes, you can take a chance.
And I think that would work really well for your principal residence. But hey, I don't think it may necessarily be a bad idea if somebody has an investment property that they're just saying, hey, like, I'm an investor. I truly feel like things are going to get better in 18 or 20 months or whatever else like that, and I'm going to borrow out of a line of credit in order to fill this payment, like, because I'm an investor. Do you think that's still a bad idea? Because your interest you could write off, and if you have a strong feeling,
it's not a bad idea because I'm doing that exactly.
Okay, fair enough.
But the thing is, I'm not borrowing at a crazy second mortgage at 25% interest rate.
Is that what their second mortgage is right now?
Yeah, almost 20% right now.
Are you kidding me? So if you guys have money out there that you want to land and feel a little risky.
So those are the people, like, I think this whole conversation about not for the affluent or like the investors who can carry this. They know the game. They understand they will make the money back. They can carry for 18 to 24 months. We are not talking about those guys. We are talking about regular people owning the principal home or investment property. They are looking for a non-traditional financing to keep this property.
So that's and that's what I wanted to get to. The line in the sand is when you start to look for non-traditional ways to backfill your hole. That's where you should start to. Yeah,
then it's an exit sign.
Yeah, that's an exit sign, like a emergency exit right now.
Exit.
Yeah,
run.
Basically, while the market still seems like we've got a little bit of a bump in it, you might want to take advantage of that. And the thing is that, like, look, let's play devil's advocate here for a second. Like, say you don't take these signs and you're just like adamant about holding on to it. What's the next steps? What happens?
So let's say, Hussein, you sell your jewelry or you pawn your jewelry.
Sure.
And you maximize your credit card.
Yeah.
You borrow the money from your friends and families, and maybe you do that for 6 months. And you're going to sell it for the same price what you could have sold 6 months back.
Yeah. Without accumulating all
this debt. So how are you going to pay the credit card back? How are you going to pay your friend and family back? How are you going to get the jewelry back? And how are you going to float?
Yeah.
So you are going to be in a more bad financial and a mental health issue than what you would have been 6 months back.
So
that makes sense?
Yeah, 100%. So like, basically, if you have right now a detached double-car garage home and you bought it because you got a really good interest rate or whatever else like that, but you could see that you're going to renew and this is not something that you can float, maybe the best thing you can do is consult with a professional and maybe sell that property and maybe get yourself a townhouse or like a single-car detached or something that's a little bit more affordable for you, at least right size, because I feel like if you don't do that right size and you go too far out, you're actually just going to lose everything along the way.
Exactly.
You might as well just take 1 or 2 steps backwards, still hold some kind of an asset, and start to build up again from there.
And that's why it comes down to who you talk to get this advice, right? There are financial planners or mortgage brokers. They'll tell you, okay, we'll get you a second mortgage and keep the payment. But you need to understand if you can afford to keep this payment for next 12 months.
Yeah.
And what happens if I cannot?
Yeah.
When you take the second mortgage, you have to be extremely, extremely diligent. These are non-traditional lenders. They will put the locks on your doors.
Yeah.
They will not think about it twice.
And you know what? Like, putting the locks on the door, actually, I was having this conversation with somebody else, and you've told me about this before too, is that some of these private lenders that you get yourself involved with, they charge you what, like a daily or a weekly inspection fee? Daily inspection.
I think we had a client like this in 2017.
We did. Remember, there was a lady that came from Ajax, and then she didn't want to sell it.
Yeah,
you knew the lender.
And I refused to sell it. I'm like, sell it.
Yeah.
And we don't know what happened.
I know what happened.
What happened?
Well, that private lender took over the place. And then she came back to me and basically told me, well, they're charging me all these fees, number one. And number two, they're charging me this inspection fee all the time.
Yeah.
And they basically forced her hand in the sale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And also, this is interesting. It's maybe relevant, maybe off topic. I had a call from a realtor. They tried to put the client, they were representing a tenant. They put them in a property to lease out. They get the deposit. Then other side realtor call and say, hey, you know what, we cannot do this transaction anymore because my landlord or my client losing the property on a power sale.
Wow.
So that's something you need to be cautious if you are renting a place out.
Imagine that you gave your first and last month and it goes power of sale or something like that.
Yeah, good thing they didn't move in, so they held on the deposit, so they were able to get the deposit back and looking for a different property.
Because that could be dangerous. That's something where people have to look out for right now.
Yeah.
Well, that's the danger in the market right now, but there is some upside. depending on how you're thinking about it.
It's an opportunity. A lot of opportunities.
So I think let's shift gears then, okay? So this was kind of the negative side of what could happen over here. And guys, if any of you guys feel like you're even remotely getting close to this, you don't have to call me or Varan or whatever else like that. But for your own sake, just try to reach out to somebody and get some proper advice. And I'm just going to put it out there and say it. The proper advice is not getting more debt.
Agree.
Yeah. It's not getting more debt.
And this is not to scare people or anything. It's like there are a small percentage of the people, they are in this spot.
Yeah, very small.
It's just to advise them.
Yeah.
Nothing else. It's just to advise
them.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, hey, it's a small percentage, but I've seen a bunch of it, not this year yet, but like I feel like I know some people that are maybe getting close to something like that. And we've seen it in the past. And it's just an ugly situation to go down.
Yeah.
Cool. So after all of this negative talk, I think that there is some positive things that are going to come out of this thing. But the way I look at the positive stuff is that it's not going to be in your face. It's saying, oh, we're going to gain 20% on this or 30% on this. You're going to have to reverse engineer a deal right now.
It's not like a stock market. Like look at what Tesla right now compared to January.
Yeah. It's done.
Yeah.
It's like my NEO stock.
Let's not get into the
my NEO stock. Cajun.
Yeah.
Buddy.
But NEO, like Tesla has picked up a lot since January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what NEO did, though.
Neo's
you think my NEO will ever recover?
Hope one day, baby.
Cajun. I'm not meeting with Cajun anymore for lunch. That's why I don't call him anymore. I just call you.
Not with alcohol.
All right.
Yeah.
So, opportunity, man. And you actually shared this with me. I don't know if you want to go through it.
But it's okay. You can. Yeah. You're okay. You're better than me then.
I don't know about that. But so basically, Varan had this interesting idea. And I was like, no, you're nuts. And then we talked it through. And it actually kind of makes sense. Kind of. Basically, like we said, you're going to have to like look for these things and reverse engineer them. So one of the examples that we came up with is basically if you purchase a property for like $900,000, and this is for an investor, I would say, right? This is not for an end user or something else like that.
It could be an user as well.
It could be an end user, but this is the way that we're looking at it and just flipping it around and saying, hey, there is opportunity when you don't see opportunity. Example, you purchase a place for $900,000. And even if you put zero down payment on it, and there's a way that you might be able to get around that through like a line of credit or something.
So technically you're borrowing the full amount of the purchase price.
Exactly.
So that's why it's a zero down.
Yeah. So anyways, that's something that people can possibly connect with you to talk through. But like, let's just say, let's just call it simply zero down, $900K purchase price. And basically you get a 5% interest, okay? You get 5% interest and your payment's going to be $4,800. We factor in that you're going to pay $450 a month in property tax and $100 a month in insurance. So we got $5,450, right? $5,450. And we're just going to say that we could get $4,000 rent for this.
It could be a bit more, but let's say $4,000.
Yeah. So let's just say $4,000. Basically, you're going to look at a negative of about $1,450.
I think this is why everyone goes wrong.
Yeah, they come to this number here, $1,450, and they're like, negative $1,450.
Doesn't make sense. Are you stupid to buy this? Are you stupid to do this? How am I losing? I'm losing $1,500 a month.
Well, guess what? What did you tell me? How much principal? You're putting $1,100 a month principal into
It's a forced savings.
That's right, forced savings. So what's your real negative at this point right now?
$350.
$350. And if this is an investment property, you've been telling me about this, it's basically that interest is a tax write-off.
Absolutely.
So we're not saying
and also the property tax and the insurance as well.
That's true. So there's a lot of tax write-off. Like...
Let's not get into details. I can't.
Sure, but the thing is that at a high level, you could almost say that might even actually be written off. Like you might not actually even incur that $350.
Maybe not even a $350 shortfall, but let's assume it's a $350 shortfall after you take the principal off.
And this tactic is not meant for everybody. Okay, you have to be a very positive person and think that things are actually going to be good in the future. Okay, and if you're that type of person, I would say it's not crazy to think that a property would appreciate at 3%.
I think that's an extremely
conservative estimate.
Yeah, okay. But that's fine.
So we did the math, okay? Yeah. So we basically said you're going to purchase at $900,000 and you're going to go 3% year over year for 5%. That property is going to be worth basically $1,043,350
in 5 years.
In 5 years, okay? Yeah. So basically, your equity gain on that thing would have been like $218,000.
That's after deducting the principal you paid on it. So the balance on the mortgage will be $825. So that's mean you're paying off the line of credit or however you borrow the money.
Yeah. So after paying everything off, you're basically at 218.
218.
218.
Yeah.
And basically the 350, even if we look at taking the 350 as a negative hit for 60 months, that's $21,000.
So you put $21,000
Yeah.
and you made $218,000 in a
Like, I don't know how you could go wrong with this kind of situation.
But that's why you said reverse engineering. No one look at that way. Yeah. Everyone look at negative.
I'm losing money today.
Losing money today.
And guy, this go back to what we talk about. You know what? The thing is that I feel like a lot of people have a short-term mindset about investing in real estate. I feel like a lot of people want to relate this thing to a stock market. Okay, I bought this many shares and the price is going to change or this or that.
Sell it and bounce.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that. This is going to be a long-term kind of gain. Even this. And you have to be positive and optimistic that this is actually what's going to end up happening.
First of all, you should be in a capacity to cover the 1450 shortfall every month. You need to have a cash flow. So as we discussed now for everyone, right?
Sure.
At the end of the day, you're carrying the 1450 cash flow. But you need to look at the brighter side, what the 1450 cash flow brings to you in next 5 years.
And that's a long-term look, right? So like long-term, if this scenario works out, and we're not saying it will, but if it works out, this scenario, you could be up $200,000 in a market like this. Like, where people are scared and everything sounds doom and gloom right now, there's an opportunity here for somebody to make $200,000, if not $200,000. What if you made $100,000? Like after everything in 5 years,
it's
like
better than nothing.
Where are you going to get that money?
Yeah.
I don't know. So it just doesn't make sense why we wouldn't look at investing this way.
Agree.
Anything else to add to this?
No, that's it.
All right.
You covered them all.
Awesome. All right, guys. So we've talked about things that may possibly go wrong, and it's going to be for a very small amount of people. And I have to say that it might even be people that have kind of stretched themselves from the beginning. So if you didn't really stretch yourself, then hopefully the stress test that was in place would have covered off some of the...
I think it's an extremely small percentage of the people. I think they knew what they were getting themselves into.
Exactly. And they probably knew the risk in the back of their head as well.
And it was a wrong advice.
100%.
And someone should have not done the transaction. That's a whole different topic.
Absolutely.
But we knew they knew what they were getting themselves into.
Exactly. So there's that part of it. And then again, I think that the example that we illustrated over here, there is opportunity if you reverse engineer it and think about long term. Again, I think that's going to be for a small portion of the people as well, because I think most people will right away look at this and say, there's no way I'm going to bleed 1450 a month.
And to be honest, you need to carry the 1450 for next 5 years to see the end of the line.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. Hey, look, we're always trying to think creatively and positively about what's going on over here. If you guys have any topics that you guys want us to cover off or any questions, both of our contact information is going to be on the screen. And we encourage you to reach out to us. Even if you think the question's not really warrant to be asked or it might be silly, we get questions all the time and we'd love to help you guys out. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, guys, remember one thing, get Kabani, get sold.
Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold. Sell it, sell it, sell it, sell it, sold.